I just felt like a king was born.
Hey guys, All the Way with Alloway here at the Tribeca International Film Festival 2014 with the filmmakers of the opening night film, Time is Illmatic. If you guys want to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your role in the movie.
My name is Erik Parker. I'm the writer and producer of Time is Illmatic.
And this is One9. I'm director-producer for Time is Illmatic. We just had an amazing opening night Wednesday at the Beacon. It was just a full house, packed house. I mean, just excited to really show the film to the world. You know, it was just an amazing experience.
So I loved watching the movie. I felt like it was such an intimate look into Nas's life, which I appreciated, because I think that at this point in his career, we see him as like a king or a god of some kind. So tell me about how you got involved with him in the first place. I know you did a lot of work in journalism and you've done music videos. So tell me how the project came to fruition.
Well, first what we did, I was a music editor of Vibe magazine in 2004, which is around the 10-year anniversary, and we were working at the magazine on the 10-year anniversary story. But, you know, obviously when you're doing a print piece, for something as, you know, big as Illmatic, pages can't really contain it. So I got with One9 and we decided to do something bigger, to shoot something, you know, around it, you know. And so we started doing interviews, and those interviews started to get more, open up doors into places.
In the beginning.
The interviews that we started to do, yes, in 2004, around the 10-year anniversary of Illmatic, we just started, you know, contacting people who were associated with the album, and we started doing interviews, and those interviews opened up a path that made it something bigger and deeper.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience just to really be able to start something like this. You know, Erik, like I said, was called me up and said, you know, do you want to work on this film? And I said, of course, man. It's going to be something that, you know, it's epic. It's going to be something just for us to be involved in Illmatic. At the time was crazy, but it wasn't until we interviewed his father, Oludar, went to his house in Harlem and really sat with him for a while and listened to the stories, the richness of the culture, the history of not just Nas's life, but the Jones family life, the culture, the blues, the struggle, you know, meeting Nas's mother, really learning about what the real issues were that the family faced. It was after that interview, it was about a 3-hour interview, that we realized that we had the backbone for a story that can create a movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to ask you about that backbone because, you know, Nas has such a huge life and a huge body of work. And so from a filmmaking standpoint, that's the challenge as a documentary filmmaker, is to go, what's the thesis? What's the backbone? So was that the moment you discovered what the backbone is? And to you, what is sort of the thesis of the piece?
You want to take that? I think, you know, what we decided to do with what One9 was saying is it was right on point as far as Oludara and how he opened up a different door to understanding Illmatic, the album. And it set us on a path. And what we decided to do and what we found ourselves unfolding before us is a story about not the making of the album, not just the album, but a story about what went into the influencing, what influenced the mind that made Illmatic. So we just try to take it not from the studio, but everything that led up to the studio, because that was what Illmatic was, the experiences, the worldview, the things that this young kid saw, these young, and the family and his relationships that he had along the way. So we decided to look at that because that tells you more about Illmatic than just what happened in the studio.
And, you know, one thing that we learned over the course of the film was who his peer groups were, who his neighbor Ill Will was, you know, that the importance of Ill Will to Nas, you know, a symbolic figure for many residents in Queensbridge that, you know, don't have a lifespan that goes beyond, you know, teenage years, you know. So we learned about those stories and how those impacted Nas as a lyricist. And
tragedy also that fuels the film and fuels Nas's lyrics is sort of that you watch kids get involved with things that are dangerous and bad for them because they have no other option. But I sort of feel like at the end of the film there is hope and redemption. And do you feel like Nas and you both wanted to communicate that channeling sort of that frustration into art can actually lead you out of your circumstances and somewhere else?
I think, that's one of the messages of the film, I think, is that, there are opportunities. There is hope. There is an opportunity through the arts for people who are exceptional to rise above their circumstances. But the other message of the film, and probably more important, because everyone usually sees that message, is the flip side of that. That what happens if you don't have that talent, that option, or that luck? And if you're not incredibly exceptional, and sometimes even if you are, what happens to somebody else who sits on that bench in a picture with you, who may have been as talented as you or may not have been as talented as you, but didn't have the same exact choices in life? What happens to them? And I think Illmatic explains that in an articulate, powerful, poignant, and poetic way. And what we try to do is bring that to life. We try to show it through Nas's eyes. What happens to those kids? We know Nas went on to become, who Nas is, but everybody's not going to be Nas. There is only one.
I'm going to be Nas. I'm going to be Nas. You guys being in such close proximity with him, what was a moment of discovery that you had working with him?
Over the course of working with Nas for the last few years, we really found a breakthrough. And that probably was when we were on the 23rd Street location, and he came up. Really, the email we got, or the call we got, was he wants to look at a couple clips from the film. It was really about 20 minutes, he said they had. He comes up, he looks at the walls, he sees, like, we had the Wild Style album, we have the Star Wars poster framed. I mean, just things that we had from our homes. He looks, he makes note of that. He nods his head, he sees that, where we're working with. So then we proceed to show him a couple clips. And he's just blown away. We had footage of him that he's never seen before as a kid. He was probably early 20s, maybe. Yeah, and he was walking back through Queensbridge, and he was blown away by watching that. And then we showed him a clip of his father that was made in the early 80s. It was a New York student film. Experimental film. It was crazy. So he looks at that and he's like, oh, that's me as a kid. And so here he goes. He's like, 20 minutes becomes an hour becomes 2 hours. Then he's like, I got to call Jungle. At that point, we would have been looking for him for about a year, and we couldn't find. Jungle's Nas's brother. We couldn't find him. We can find him, but he wouldn't lock in on an interview.
He's elusive.
He's really elusive.
He was drinking the entire movie.
We'll leave that up to him. We'll let him tell you that.
He'll gladly tell you.
Yeah, he'll tell you that. But
what is this concoction?
Yeah. So, anyways, that led to Jungle coming up and meeting us, and they stayed for about 4 hours, and they blew meetings off. They blew interviews off. They didn't want to leave. They were watching it, and we realized they were telling us stories about people who were missing. They were looking at photographs, telling us, "Oh, he's dead. He's gone." I mean, it was sad. It was tragic, but we were laughing. There was jokes. I mean, we were talking about other people in the footage, and it was a breakthrough. Nas knew that we came about this project with pure intentions, honest intentions, something that we really can put all of our lives into and make something that was profound.